Are you tired of programming languages that feel rigid and have long keywords? Tired of being forced to code in one specific way with verbose syntax that just slows you down? What if you could just build the language you want to code in? What if you don't have to adapt to the language, but make the language adapt to you? Well, that's what I built. It's called HTVM, and it's not just another programming tool or language. It's an engine for creating programming languages. It's a system I built that lets you design your own programming language with your own syntax. And then you can generate code for 15 different programming languages, including C++, JavaScript, Python, etc. 12 more. So what is HTVM really is that it allows you to customize your syntax, and then you have your language. But to run it, you need to just convert it to any of those 15 languages. But this is what HTVM is not. You cannot convert between languages. You cannot convert between JavaScript or Python. No. You build your HTVM syntax, and that syntax, you code in that language you built, which to run it, you just have to convert it to other languages, the 15 languages HTVM supports. So how do we do it? Well, as you can see here, we have these rigid syntaxes, you see like so crazy, But here's HTVM. You can customize your syntax. You can use the stop or end keyword. You can customize the name, You can use loop or spin, whatever you want. You can use curly braces or Lua style. You can do whatever you want, pretty much. Almost, So let's start. So here's let's make a language, right? So let's call it hello lang. Why not? Like hello world, but for languages. Okay, so we're presented with all of these customization. So if you look at the preview, this is the default language you get. This is as default as it gets. This is the most default HTVM language, as you can see, but you can customize this. We're talking comments, all the types, all these keywords are customizable that I'm highlighting, even the operators. That's right. Pretty much everything is customizable, even curly braces, but you can customize it and change it to other words, whatever. Everything is customizable, even the parentheses. So let's go through some customizability. So let's use the end keyword, for example. And now, as you can see, we use the end keyword, but we can customize it. So let's do that. Let's go there and let's say we say stop. There we go. Now we use stop instead of the end keyword. And the syntax highlighting works even in the IDE, which we're going to talk about that later. So let's continue. We want to customize the comment. Let's say you like Python. Boom. Now we have this comment. There we go. Let's say we want to use, there's another style we can use, the postfix notation. So like variable name, then type, and then the equal operator, which is also customizable as well. We're talking everything. Even this dot push is customizable to something else. That's right. Even loops. So let's get back to this one. It's much better. We don't have to use parentheses. So here, if I disable it, as you can see right here, let's go, for example, this loop, if a index 5 equals to 5. Very simple, but what if we want to customize this? So we can customize these 3 keywords as well. Let's do that. Let's say for if, we can go with check. It's a bit more verbose, but you can do that. And for the equal operator, we can do is. And for the a underscore index, which I'm going to talk about any moment, I'm going to say I. So what is a underscore index, or now that we did I? Well, for any loop, basically it's the index. It's built in. You don't have to define it. It's built in, and it even works with nested loops. Though if you want a nested to carry from the other one, you have to define your own variable, but that's just programming, So look how simple it is. Of course, this is loop, comma 10, but you don't even need to use the comma, because you can just type loop or lowercase loop, but then that will interfere with this one. So we can call it inf loop, because it's an infinite loop. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, We can use semicolons or not. They're actually, you don't even have to use them. They're optional. They're purely optional. All the types you can customize. You can customize basically everything. So let's say this is our language. We build our language. How do we use it? Well, there's first one way. We can go to the IDE, the web IDE. It will download the instruction file. So when we go here, you're going to be presented with this. You're going to click upload instruction file. And this was the last one. So you're probably going to have just htvm.instruction.txt. You open it up, you click OK. If you say leave, don't stay, it will just reload. And there we go. Now we can just customize. Let's say I don't like the auto pair quotes, and you can just customize it, I want to clear the terminal before each run. And then let's say test.htvm, and boom. Now let's say we can make our loop 10. Wait, did we say loop? This is loop, keyword loop, yes. I think it's because it's lowercase, yes. Lowercase loop, now you can just type stop, and then let's say, we actually can do I.print. Why? Because we can, of course. It's an optional thing in HTVM. We can just do this, but you can do it the other way as well. I.print. And the thing is, the parentheses are optional, so you can either use them or don't. Here we can even use them. And let's even use the formatter. Control-Shift-F, it will format your code. And there it is in JavaScript. It actually just convert them to regular stuff. So, and if the code is run, as you can see, it runs from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. Well, let's remove them so we can see it a little bit better. There it is. There we go. So we can run a language and use it, But this is the web IDE. It has some features, but not everything. So if you really want to use everything from the IDE, you should install the desktop IDE. The desktop IDE works on Windows, Linux, and it should probably work on Mac OS. I haven't tested, but it should. So let's get it. So first of all, I'm going to get this link, go here, and then I'm going to git clone it. There we go. So now I'm just going to explain how to use it. So first of all, you need to cd to the HTIDE, of course. And inside, you need to make sure to cd to the desktop one. This is the desktop IDE because it has also a web IDE as well. But we use the desktop IDE. And now you need to install npm and type npm install. So if you don't have npm, make sure to install it. On Windows, you can just Google how to install it. On Linux as well. When you have npm, you can just type npm install, wait for it to install. It shouldn't take long. And then we can just type npm start. And we are in the IDE. But are we? Well, actually, we need to have an instruction file. Usually, it should give you one. It should give you like the option because I already have the IDE. But we need to actually build our language now. So, okay. So now, make sure you have your language. And now we can click on build to build our language. So, it's building. The first time it will take a while. A bit more than that. So here we have it. And now, I can just simply go to the download folder. And then I can simply unzip it. It's going to be very simple. It's called hellolang3.zip. We can just pipe to HL, whatever, -d. There we go. Now we can just cd to HL, hello language, or whatever. And there we have it. So this is our language we just built. We have a documentation file in an HTML file, so we can see it in the browser, a markdown file, and our file we need. So if we go back to the IDE, we're going to find it. There it is, and grab our file. There it is. Okay, now we should be in our language. So if I type loop, let's say 5, 6, stop, and then print I, there we go. And this is the equivalent in JavaScript. So now that we're in the IDE, we can run our language, we have everything, So let's talk about some other stuff. So we have this markdown file. So we can open it up. So if I go here, I drag it and open it up. The markdown file in HTML, we have our documentation, which is generated. The documentation is actually generated, so we can see everything we have. Let's say how our language looks like. There it is. So to really test if your language works, just copy this and see if it works. And if you see all of this the same way, like this, it probably worked, Something went wrong, actually. It's not a problem because we're just testing. Try, catch, and finally. And yeah, so HTVM can convert to all of these 15 languages. So let's say we see C++. Yeah, it's a bit more, but it does work. We see, let's say, Swift. And there it is. You see, all these languages, you can convert most of the snippets. It's not perfect, but it works. Sometimes you may need to use the language's rules, For example, nim, you cannot return, like you don't, for example, in nim, if you have a function and it's not a void function, but you use it as a void function without returning to a variable or whatever, it actually will not run the program. But in other languages, it will. So you just have to follow the rules of the language you're converting to. And yeah, but you can convert to multiple languages with one snippet. Most of them would work, yes. But you can also insert something called programming blocks. So what is programming blocks? So for example, you can type start.js. Right now, JS start and now JS end, and inside you can code in JavaScript. So let's say we can do console.log, and then let's say I1. This is I1. And as you can see, there it is, it stayed intact. So programming blocks allow you to code in the target language, and the syntax even changes. So what happens if I also code in Python here? Let's say I remove this, I type print. Well, this is Python, so I change it to Python. Of course, the programming blocks are also customizable. So programming blocks allow you to code in the target language. So when I type this and I convert to JavaScript, it's gone, it's just gone, because we only convert to JavaScript here. If I convert to Python now, this will stay, this will be gone. This allows you to convert, this allows you to convert to multiple languages at the same time and have programming blocks which allow you to code in the target language when HTVM cannot do something. Because after all, HTVM cannot do everything. That's why this allows you to escape HTVM in a way. This is programming blocks. So yeah, but there's other stuff in HTVM. If I click on full HTML, and let's say I can type a GUI button, and now we have a button. So let's do X 50%, Y 50%, and now it's in the middle. And then this is main. So this is very important. This is this keyword code main, which is customizable. Anything underneath is inside the main function, which you should use every time. There is no, you don't have to end it. You just type main, everything below is main function, everything above is functions. But if you never use a function, you just type some code that is inside main kinda. You don't even need to use main, but you should. So now we can type button without anything and type 0 and then sub out. And let's say we type message box hi. When I click the button, it says hi. But if you look at what happened actually is that, well, it first added this element. This is the callback, button 0. That's why we say button 0 and we say message box hi. So basically, it's the default. You can read this about it in the documentation, which is right here. This is the documentation, right? So if I go on the top, you can see we have the GUI documentation. You can read everything about GUI, and this is in your syntax actually. So for example, remember how we defined our loops? There it is. Everything just is in your syntax. Every single thing in the documentation that the documentation covers is in your syntax. Programming blocks, you can learn more about it. Variables, functions, pattern matching. It's very cool. Everything, you know. And also very important, built-in functions. So this is how you use HTVM mostly, through these built-in functions. So we have mat functions, string functions, system functions. Like, I mean, they're not many, but because most of them are like file functions and I guess IO functions, which technically should be fine, but technically, yeah, like get parameters, input print, you can just use them, you know. But here's the deal. You can see here availability. So as you can see for JavaScript, these functions are not available because HTVM is made for, JavaScript in HTVM is mostly made to run on the web, you know, not really locally. And that's why, but you can definitely add them if you use Node.js, but yes. And you can see examples. So let's go somewhere where I can run an example much nicer. Let's say a string function, let's say the sort. And we can see how to use the sort function. And this is in our language, check, stop, you know. So if we copy this and go back and remove full HTML, we can use our sort. And as you can see, it worked. It's actually better to go to C++ because JavaScript will output like every new line is like, I don't know what's going on. So if I convert to C++, there it is. And there we go. If you see this, don't worry. It's just a warning and it will just fall back to another regex. Just don't worry about this, okay? So yeah, there we go. It worked. And you can sort stuff. You know, this is just one of the functions. So yeah, this is the documentation which is generated for your specific language. You get it also in a markdown format if you want to. And then you also get this README file. And this README file basically says this, you know, this is a hello lang. This language was generated by HTVM. There's all the files here about HTVM. And yeah, it basically links HTVM. This is meant to be read as a markdown file. I'm reading it raw. But yeah, so this is what you get with HTVM. Let's talk about the IDE even more because there's so many things about the IDE that we need to talk about. So if I just go back to our loops, okay, let's format it. And we have a JavaScript debugger. So let's convert back to JavaScript. So if you if you have some problems with HTVM, let's say your code logic, you can convert to JavaScript and you can use the debugger. And as you can see, you can drag and move. I mean, my screen looks small, so I can record this, but you can of course change the size. You can click like Control and plus, or like Control Shift plus and minus. I don't remember how exactly, but you can scale everything, the whole thing, the UI. But here you can scale just the fonts, so like if I do this, it will just scale this. So yeah, as you can see here, I can hover over and I can see this, You can see here as well. It's very lightweight and we have a debugger. But what if you get an error on line 5000 whatever? How would you know what is an HTVM? Well, we can. So let's say we have an error on line 10. We need to copy this. After we copy this into our clipboard, we go here and we press Ctrl Alt M, which is also customizable. And now we can just type line 10 and map it. And it's pretty sure it's on line 2. It uses a fuzzy algorithm to detect and find it. So there it is on line 2, and it looks like this. So it will just get what is the line, and so we can kind of see how it looks like. But it's pretty sure it's on line 2, and there it is. This way you can kind of predict almost perfectly where it's located. So if you have any issues like that, let's say C++ says it's on line 357, you have no idea, or you can just check 357 line in C++ and see how it looks like, where it's kind of located, and you can probably trace it back to your HTVM code. But there is more to HTVM. So we have something called HTVM to HTVM. This is very important. Let's say I code in my own syntax, but somebody else codes in their own syntax. How am I going to read their code? I mean, if you know, let's say JavaScript, you can read somebody else's JavaScript code, right? That's how programming languages work. But what about HTVM? Well, it's actually even better. So let's say somebody makes their own language. Let's just make a new language real quick. This is the default language. Let's just create it real. I need to build for this language, I need to build the instruction file. There we go. So now what we can do, we can go to the instruction. We need to add this file. There it is, but we don't go to it. And now what we can do is, let's just make this new file, whatever, .htvm. And this is where you can put your whatever code, or just grab this file in HTVM. And then we have their syntax, but we want to convert it to our syntax. Oh, I forgot to change the comments to, anyways, don't worry about it. We changed them earlier to that, but I had a technical issue, so it's okay. So now we can click on HTVM to HTVM and we can target this, and then we can just go back to the location. So we just need to set their file. This is their file, and there it is converted. This is now converted to our language. As you can see, now it's in our language. So this way you can convert somebody else's code in their own HTVM language, as long as you have their instruction file, to your HTVM language. So we can read their code in your eyes. Yes, that's basically how it works. Yeah, this is in our eyes. So this is about HTVM. So let's talk about more about the IDE. You can customize pretty much anything, use normal key bindings, Vim, Emacs, VS Code, Sublime, customize everything in the UI. Literally everything is customizable. The hotkeys are customizable. We even have this project default. So you can make basically templates. You can make like a structure. Inside the structure, you can have like something dot some file, and you can then, this is a structure. And then inside the structure, we add something dot whatever. And then inside you can put some context, and when you save it, you can click a hotkey like Ctrl+N, and you can select a new project. I believe if I press Ctrl+N, it will ask me for a structure. So yeah, I can choose a structure, it will create that project. We can even save sessions and load sessions. So everything will be like, the whole session will be saved. We even have workspaces where the whole IDE will reset in a different workspace. So if two people work on the same computer, you can export your teams and everything. So basically you can rise up your environment. You can customize everything. Imagine you're on Linux, you rise up your Linux, and then you can rise up your IDE and then your language as well. And there we go. And we can even start a web server. We can choose the port and the index default file. Maybe you have another default file. But yeah, that's basically how it works here. And we can just go to the local host and it will host a server. Very convenient. As you know, we have a HTML runner. I mean, if you have an HTML file, you can just directly click it and it will open on the site. You can even download it if you want to. For some reason, it's here because it's also there in the web IDE. But yeah, do I need to talk about anything else? I think I covered almost everything there is to cover. Yeah, so this is HTVM. You can make your language, customize it, do whatever you want, you know? So HTVM is licensed under the GPO v3 license, which basically allows you to distribute HTVM. But if you distribute some code that you modified for HTVM, you need to open source it. So basically, you can open source HTVM. Like, I mean, HTVM is open source, but you can distribute as long as it's open source. So yeah, basically so basically you can do whatever you want as long as you open source any changes you want to distribute. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Sorry. Yeah, so this is HTVM. You can use it, completely open source. And I encourage you to read the documentation and the README file for HTVM. We have everything here you need to know about HTVM, documentation, regenerations, and everything, building your language. Just make sure when you create the language, make sure to click on it. Sometimes maybe it glitches, so just make sure to click on it, you know? And before build it, click on it. I don't know, just a bit paranoid. But anyways, that is HTVM. Hope you enjoyed this video. And you can also join the Discord server. There is a Discord server. You can join it. You can share your languages, maybe build some meme languages and share them on Discord. One way to share them is maybe to just make some basic syntax, code as much as you want, however much you can fit on your screen, and maybe make a screenshot of that section and share it. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.